Greetings, this is Jeff Riddle. I'm the pastor of Christ Reformed Baptist Church in Louisa, Virginia. And I just want to do a short podcast responding to a question that a person in my church posed to me this week. We met for breakfast one day, and he had mentioned this to me on the Lord's Day when we were together. And then he brought this to me and showed it to me. And he works in the medical field. And one of his colleagues had given him this nice little bound book. And he said, it's kind of like the Bible. It's got different stories about Jesus in it, but it's not really the Bible. And he asked me if I had heard about it. And I, of course, was interested. And I thought maybe, first of all, he had gotten some of the literature that's sent out by the Seventh-day Adventists, the writings of Ellen White or whatever. But in fact, he gave this to me and his copy to me, and it's not really that. I was kind of intrigued by it. I really think in the end, after looking at it, I would call it a modern day Diatessaron. And I'll explain what that means. In the second century, there was a fellow named Tatian, or I guess it could be Tatian, and he was a disciple of an early Christian teacher whose name was Justin Martyr. He's called the Martyr because he was put to death for his faith. But Tatian put together a composite of all four of the Gospels. Instead of reading Matthew alone, Mark alone, Luke alone, John alone, he put all of them together. And this work was called the Diatessaron, or the through the four is what it means in Greek. Dia means through, Tessaron, the four. And so this was his compilation, a harmony of the four Gospels, put them all together. Why do we have four Gospels? Why don't we just have one Gospel? And so he had put them all together. Tatian, unfortunately, also began to teach some things about Jesus that were not deemed to be orthodox by mainstream of Christians at that time. And so his views were denounced. And for that reason, his Diatessaron has largely been lost, except as it was found in some ancient translations. And I recently was looking through Simon Gathercole's work published by Penguin on the Apocryphal Gospels. And he has there several pages where he lists through the headings of what was in Tatian's Diatessaron. I think it comes from an Arabic translation that they've sort of reconstructed the text of Tatian's Diatessaron. Apparently, at one time, it was very popular in Syrian Christianity. But anyways, is this a modern day Diatessaron? Let me just share with you a little from this book. So it starts off, it's a nice little soft bound book. And it starts off with a note to the reader from someone named the Fellow Traveler. So it starts off, friend, why is this book in your hands? Curiosity? A fluke? Fate? I faced the same question a few years back. Maybe your life is great. Perhaps you're worn out from the day-to-day struggles of life, or maybe you feel like I did, lost, broken, and searching endlessly for peace. He says, no matter your situation in life or how you feel, the contents in this little book will bring light and clarity on your journey. Now it's up to you. Read this book or don't. No matter your decision, the ripple effects will reach every aspect of your life for generation to come. Be sure to know this book is all about one of the most controversial and consequential figures of all time, Jesus of Nazareth. And then later on, he says, in reading this book, I discovered the real Jesus for myself. He adds, turn the pages and you will find why this book fell into your hands. You have nothing to lose, everything to gain. So this is the book. Then you turn it over, and it's not the Gospel of Matthew or the Gospel of Mark or Luke or John. But it's titled The Life and Teachings of Jesus of Nazareth. And it says, 4 writers named Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John report the key events of Jesus' life on earth in 4 books called the Gospels, a word meaning good news. They draw from their own experiences as Jesus' closest followers or from reports of reliable witnesses. The following account of Jesus' life and teachings combine selections from the 4 Gospels into one continuous story. So this is a modern day harmony. And then there follows after this harmony itself. It starts off with the prologue of the Gospel of John, and then it moves on to Luke chapter 1 and the account of the annunciation of the birth of John the Baptist, to Zechariah and Elizabeth, and then goes on to the birth of Jesus and so forth. So it's put together. It doesn't follow the traditional printed versification. It kind of creates its own section numbers, and so it's about 220 pages. And it looks like it's about 202 pages of the story of the life of Jesus, this harmony, and then it divides it into 359 thought units. And again, some of those thought units are rather large. Like the very first one is John 1 through 18, so 18 verses. And there is, we'll talk about the back matter in just a moment, but in the back matter, there is a little index and tells you where in the Gospels these various passages were drawn from. And so it also gives a kind of a unique breakdown of the story of the life of Jesus drawn from these Gospels, and it divides it into 6 sections. First is the birth and childhood of Jesus. Second, the beginning of Jesus' public ministry. Third, the year of popularity. Fourth, the year of growing opposition. Fifth, the week Jesus dies. And 6, the last 40 days. And so not only is it does it include the Gospels, but there are also extracts in this final part from Acts chapter 1. So it includes part of Acts. And I was just reading through this. You get the sense. Well, you see, that there's a theme of dividing, I guess, the ministry of Christ into a 2-week period, 2-year period, because section 3 is the year of popularity, and section 4 is the year of growing opposition, and then finally the week Jesus dies. So anyways, that's it. And then there's some back matter, and right at the end there's this sort of Reformation slogan, Soli Deo Gloria. Is the author Reformed? He doesn't tell us. And then it ends with a kind of a promotional blurb telling you where you can get free copies of this book. It says visit the website, which is plusnothing.com, to request your free book. By the way, I should have said also that in the back matter, right just as it begins with a note from the anonymous fellow traveler, it ends on page 203 after the harmony with another message from fellow traveler, which begins, "Friend, while reading this book, the life and teachings of Jesus captivated me. Rest assured, Jesus is always near on your journey of life, fellow traveler." And then again, once you get to the end, as it directs you to the Plus Nothing website, you do get a little bit more information. At the very bottom of the page, it says the life and teachings of Jesus of Nazareth, which is the harmony. It's copyright 2010, 2014, 2020, 2021, 2022, published by Bible League International. Again, doesn't give us anyone's name or several persons named, the person who edited it, put this together. So apparently this new Diatessaron was put together in 2010 by Bible League International. And then apparently this unknown evangelical organization called Plus Nothing is distributing this. And it also tells us that the selections that are given here in these readings come from a Bible version that I had not heard of before. It's called the Holy Bible Easy to Read Version, the ERV, and there's a trademark on that. That has a copyright 1987, 2004, and that's also by the Bible League International. I will say also that the work is copyrighted, and so it's not in the public domain. It says all rights reserved. No part of this publication may be reproduced, stored, etc. So, anyways, this is this little book. And by the way, I can, as you can, looked up, the website. Let me share this. This is the Plus Nothing website. And again, there's not a lot of information. There's a place where you can order books, a place you can donate money, a place where you can share your story. Connect, it says. I'm not sure what that's going to say. Now what? Finish the book. Get connected. Let's see if it's going to take us to a church. It asks you to fill out this information, and you can talk to someone. We partner with caring people who would love to connect with you, but it doesn't tell us who those caring people are. Churches, parachurch groups. I'm not really sure. And apparently, if you fill out the form and it does say get connected with a church that truly cares about you. And so, anyway, I don't know. I don't know what those churches are. I don't know who they're connected with. And I also looked up, this is the website for Bible League International. And let's just look at what they're about. Let's see if we can look at a statement of faith to start out. We believe the Bible is inspired, infallible. We believe there's one God, eternally existent in three persons, Father, Son, Holy Spirit, so the Trinitarian. We believe in the deity of our Lord Jesus Christ, his virgin birth, sinless life. So it seems like a fairly orthodox group. Again, I wasn't familiar with this group, but apparently they're the ones who are putting forward this book, this Plus Nothing ministry. And the book doesn't really ever have a title on it. I guess we could call it The Life and Teachings of Jesus. So anyways, I know that the person in my church had a question about this. I wondered if some other people might have questions about it as well. Here are just three concerns I have about this. Now, this one appears to be from an evangelical ministry, but here are three questions I have about this. First of all, I would say if someone gives you something, a friend or something comes in the mail, I'm always a little suspicious and cautious about materials where you cannot easily find the name of the organization or the person who is producing this. And also with a book or literature, when you can't find who publishes it, what's the publication year easily. Now, in this case, like I said, if you do some searching, you look in the back, you can find that. And maybe that's because, I maybe the ordinary person wouldn't do that, but because I, do some scholarly work, I'm always looking, who published it, when was it published, who wrote it, and so forth. But that's being transparent. That's telling you up front where does it come from and what the angle is on it. The second thing that I would wonder about with respect to this book and the whole Plus Nothing project is it seems to be confessional. And maybe it's just non-denominational evangelical, but who are these churches? What's their confessional background? I mean, for all I know, they could be Mormons. They could be Jehovah's Witnesses. They could be some cult group. And perhaps, again, given the what we looked at with the statement of faith, at least, of the Bible League International, that seems to be, but they're just using this translation and apparently this book that was produced by Bible League International. They hold the copyright on it, so I guess they gave them the permission. But what do I know about this organization? Is it charismatic? Is it reformed? I don't know. And why not be forthcoming about that? And I guess they're thinking, this is for people who don't know anything about Christianity, don't know anything about the faith. But still, even for that person, I think it's good to identify. The third thing, and again, this is I think the most significant thing, is why try to create an amalgamation of the four Gospels. I would just say that this isn't the way that the Lord seems to have chosen to reveal his word to us. He gave the inspired, infallible account of the Lord Jesus Christ, not in one harmony, not in a diatessaron. He gave the Gospels to us in this fourfold form, that there is the Gospel of Matthew, there is the Gospel of Mark, there is the Gospel of Luke, there is the Gospel of John. And we are meant to read Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, not Tatian's Diatessaron, not this compilation. There's some significance in the fact, if you read Matthew, I've been preaching through it recently. If you read it from beginning to end, I believe the Spirit has a special purpose and achieves a special purpose in reading the Gospel of Matthew, in reading the Gospel of Mark, in reading Luke, in reading John. Yes, there is a place for reading, as I heard someone put it, horizontally. You read something in Matthew, then you compare it in Mark, you compare it in Luke, you compare it in John. That's a way Christians have always read the Bible also. But the revealed way that God has given the account of Jesus is not in one written gospel, but in four gospels. There is one gospel. There is one story of the life and ministry, the death, burial, and resurrection, and appearances of Christ. But there are four written gospels, not an amalgam. I mean, you could say with this, I looked at it, for example, interestingly enough, it has the woman taken in adultery, John 7:53 through 8:11, but it excludes the traditional ending of Mark 16:9 through 20. So it's, and they, again, I think they say this doesn't include everything. It's a selection of accounts. But anyways, this isn't the way that God himself chose to bring forth his word. And so for that reason, I would extend some caution with respect to this project. So anyways, I'm going to bring this to an end. I hope this has been helpful to some people who are listening. Maybe you've had a friend hand this on to you. Maybe you've been pointed toward this website. Maybe someone out there knows more about this ministry than I do. And they'll want to share that in the notes. Actually, one last thing before I leave, I was thinking about the passage in the Gospel of Luke, and this is in Luke chapter 9, verses 49 and 50, where it says, "And John answered and said, Master, we saw one casting out devils in thy name, and we forbade him because he followed not with us. And Jesus said unto him, Forbid him not, for he that is not against us is for us." And maybe someone might say, well, Jeff, you ought to apply that to this situation. I mean, they're trying to do something good. They're trying to get, at least segments of the Bible out there to people. And again, I don't want to just smash them, but I do think it is a question. And we don't want to forbid them, because as Christ said, he that is not against us is for us. But could there be something in this that is against the integrity of the fourfold gospel? That's my question. And, you know, our church has gone out in years past, pre-COVID. There's a local agricultural fair that's held in Louisa County, and we got a hold of the Trinitarian Bible Society copies just of the Gospel of John and handed them out to people. And I think there can be a place for giving people an individual book like the Gospel of John. You know, read this. This is one of the accounts of Jesus. And you know, even I know some Christians who have a hesitation about the just printing the New Testament or the New Testament and the Psalms, or the New Testament, Psalms, and Proverbs. Well, it's because we do have a whole Bible. We have the Old Testament, we have the New Testament. And some people can get the sense that if you just have a part of the scriptures, that's adequate and you need all of it. But again, I think there are some times we're handing out the Gospel of John. I'm a little more hesitant, though, about handing something out that's a compilation of other things. And someone might be confused and think that these notes from fellow travelers, if someone's really at a ground zero, knows nothing about the Bible, how do they know that these notes from fellow traveler aren't what was part of the gospel accounts? That'd be just one example of how this could cause confusion. Well, that's a little add-on. Again, I hope this is helpful, and some people might want to add more information to enlighten all of us in the comments. I'll look forward to speaking to you in the next episode. Till then, take care and God bless.